Hey, what's going on, gang? Happy winning Wednesday to everybody out there. How was everybody's Taco Tuesday yesterday? Listen, listen. The Patreon community, the Discord community was absolutely on fire last night. I wrote up 4 different picks over on Patreon. All 4 of them ended up hitting. Break out the brooms. We swept the night. I see a lot of people talking about Jakob Poeltl and how they got burned by him in full game formats. Well, listen, I'm no genius or anything, but I took Jakob Poeltl over first half fantasy points, and that was one of the 4 picks that ended up hitting. I just want to show you guys something. Over in the Discord, the Out of Bounds Discord, the Discord that I run. This was yesterday at 8:43 p.m. We got things started here with the taco. Fred VanVleet taco. Paired it with Isaiah Stewart. Shout out to David, aka Hoodat, in the Patreon/Discord community for the Isaiah Stewart over 3.5 first half points. All right, so I got the day started off here for the Discord. But then we start going down here, and these are all winning entries. Anybody who's in the red here, name is in red, they are Patreon members. So I got to take a minute and say shout out to the community. Shout out to everybody who ended up winning last night on Patreon. It was a great start to the month of February. Now, this thing goes on forever, so I'm just going to scroll through it real quick. These are all winning entries. There I am again. 3-pick power ended up coming through. We got our man David there winning a ton of money. Mark, Mike, Benny, No Walk. Listen, Big Rel Dog crushing it. We had a winning night. I'm just going to let this scroll while I talk to you guys. These are all winning entries, by the way. We took the overs on Wendell Carter Jr.'s points. The overs on Wendell Carter Jr.'s fantasy points. The over on first half on Wendell Carter Jr. The over on first half Wendell Carter Jr. fantasy points. We took the over on Jakob Poeltl over first half fantasy points. We took the over on Isaiah Stewart's first half points. And it just keeps going, guys. Just keeps on going. So yeah, it was a winning night. And that's all I can really say is that we had a fantastic night in the community last night, and I wish you were a part of it. I wish you were here winning with us. Yeah, this goes on a while. Here, I'll speed it up a little bit just so you guys can kind of see. Like, these are all winning entries from last night. Crazy night. So I got to flex a little bit. Got to also say shout out to the community. Everybody out there freaking crushed. Everybody crushed last night. Listen, if you tailed the picks last night, Patreon's already paid for. You had a winning night, all right? The tacos hit. All 4 of the picks I wrote up hit. It was just a good night. Great night overall, man. So shout out to everybody who is in the Patreon/Discord community. Thank you so much for the support. I'm glad that I was able to pay your Patreon membership in just one night. Over on PrizePicks. Great feeling. Great start to the month. How did it go for most of you folks? I see a lot of Poeltl hate, and I get it. A lot of people were on his full game props. But I took the first half only and ended up paying off, even though he only played half of a quarter in the second quarter. I think he ended up getting hurt. Ended up being a great night though. Just want to put it out there. So shout out to all the community members, everybody who's in there, chipping in, putting in the work. Listen, like I said in previous videos, we don't have the secret sauce, the winning recipe to win every single night. It's just not going to happen. We don't have the crystal ball. We ain't got the keys to unlock all the wins, all the dubs every single night. But you don't need all that. All you got to do is hit one $10 2-pick power play, and then Patreon's paid for the entire month, and you're free rolling. Now, what you do with your bankroll, how you wager throughout the rest of the month, if you're chasing 5-pick power plays or 5-pick flex plays and you can't hit one, listen, that's on you. My responsibility is to make sure that you at least get your $20 worth. And we covered that in night number 1, February 1st. So there was a lot of folks who ended up jumping off the ship from January to February. If you would have stayed on one more day, one more month, listen, everything would have been paid for, all right? You're welcome back anytime, by the way. You folks who were members, who were supporting through Patreon, you're welcome back anytime. The door is always open. We're always going to be here doing our thing inside Discord with player prop research, landing on those winning picks. So shout out to, like I said, my man David with the Isaiah Stewart over 3.5 first half points. Listen, sometimes it's the ugly ones that end up hitting, right? So we had a fantastic night. I mean, thousands of dollars won, I would say. I think that's fair to say. So let's go through the chat, man. Let's see what you guys are talking about. Leroy says, let's smash again today, CJ. Yes, we will definitely be running it back. We got 9 NBA games on today's slate. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure notifications are turned on. And slap the like button. Hit the like button for Winning Wednesday, let's call it. All right? Dave Gutierrez says, CJ, great Patreon picks last night. Straight cash. Listen, it's not just me. I'm not here to pat my own back, to toot my own horn. These are people who are in Patreon who are saying this, okay? Mark H says, great night last night. Thanks to CJ and the Patreon and Discord family. Let's do it again. Boom. Let's do it again, Mark. I would love to do it again. Travis says, what up? I see King United's in the building. Good to see you. Todd, live for Sundays. Good morning, CJ. Love playing powers, of course, but have to say that I've built my account trying more flex. Been working daily thanks to you. Listen, it's okay to flex. If you're not in a hurry to win the entire bag in one night, then flex more. There's nothing wrong with that. I want to be able to do this every single day. Listen, the NBA season goes all the way through the month of June. We got a long road ahead here, folks. Pace yourselves. Pace yourselves. Let's make it sustainable, right? We want to be able to do this every day. It's fun. It's a way to win money. It's entertaining, right? A way for us to get together, to commune over sports through PrizePicks. Take your time. Aaron Rodgers, that is, very profitable day yesterday. Hit a 5 of 5, 3 4 out of 5s, and another 3 out of 5. Love it. Emo says, good morning, fellas. Let's get back in the gang. Or back in the green, rather, after Pirtlegate. Pirtlegate, yeah, a lot of people were hurt by Pirtle. Magic's here for the moral support. Pirtle bankrupted him. Ouchie, wah. King Chris, good morning. Time for another bag tonight. King Chris is a longtime member here of the Patreon community. Glad you were able to find some wins last night. Desmond just joined Patreon, says, let's get it, CJ. Patreon was lit last night and a lot of green in the winner's circle. 5 for 5 profitable entries for me. MF June, what it do, gang? What's up, MF June? Gibbs says, good morning, CJ, and good morning to the chat. Good morning to you as well. Jimmy Green, good morning, beautiful people. Note, if you're not smashing the like button on your way in, then you shouldn't be allowed to watch this amazing live stream. Listen, that's a little harsh. We'll let everybody watch who wants to watch. If you decide to hit the like button, I am much appreciated. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, Spencer Dinwiddie did not play well last night. I started to kind of get a funny feeling about Spencer Dinwiddie. You start reading the news about him and the Wizards not getting along, not vibing. Dinwiddie, tough matchup against Drew Holiday and the Milwaukee Bucks. I started getting a funny feeling about that prop, especially when I saw PrizePicks move it down from 16.5 the night before down to 15.5. I was like, oh man, something's going on here. This one smells funny. And sure enough, Spencer Dinwiddie did not get it done. Alain Francois says, good morning, CJ. Good morning to you. Lowballer, good morning. Mr. James, good to see you in here. Dylan Williams says, hell of a night last night. Need another good one. It was a hell of a night last night. Very good night. Hector says, smash the like button. Curry, you the man. Appreciate you, Hector. Appreciate the support. Emmanuel says, good morning. Let's get it. We will get it. We will get after it. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. That Huntboy92 says, good morning, fellas and CJ. Let's get this green today. February is going to be lit like January. Flexing, bro. Hey, the other pick that I was on that ended up working out. Kyle Kuzma under 3.5 assists. Anytime Bradley Beal's out of the lineup, we should be looking at Kyle Kuzma under 3.5 assists. If you're in Patreon, you know why. I wrote it up. I gave you the numbers. And it ended up working out. Kyle Kuzma stayed under 3.5 assists. That was another one of the picks that I wrote up last night that ended up working out. E. Wicker says, won hundreds of dollars yesterday. Couldn't have done it without you and the community. Appreciate all your hard work. Listen, just keep rocking with me, man. Keep rocking with me. I'm going to keep giving back to you guys, whether that be through some free entries. Yesterday, I gave away 5 free entries to win $100 on PrizePicks. I do real money, cash money giveaways through Patreon. I also post picks. We're in there as a community, talking picks and props all day long. I think it's well worth 20 bucks, man. I just do. Listen, maybe I'm biased. I probably am, but that's okay. Looking through the rest of your comments here. Anthony Taylor says, glad to be here with you, family. Appreciate all your hard, consistent work, brother. Yeah, every day I'm showing up here 11 a.m. and we are rolling up our sleeves and we're looking at some player props and we're trying to put some people on some wins. Yes, that's what we do. Appreciate the support, Anthony. Like I said on Twitter, A1 Day 1. Mr. Taylor, you have been there from the very beginning. You've seen the growth. You've seen us go from nobody to somebody, right? So I appreciate your long time support. Zach Gill says, what's up, CJ? Let's get that bag. That Euro Taco was stale. Yeah, that Euro Taco. Miritich did not get it done. Not a good taco. Ronald's Green says, what's up? What's up to you again, Mr. Solid there. Owen Davis, hoping to bounce back last night. Pirtle killed me, man. That is the theme of the show. Pirtle and Dinwiddie killing a lot of people. 44 Beers says, what's good, CJ? Magic players came through paired with the tasty taco. Listen, Wendell Carter Jr. against the Chicago Bulls is a thing, people. If you didn't believe in it before, I think you should believe in Wendell Carter versus the Chicago Bulls going forward. I think you should. It's no longer a narrative. There's actually real life numbers, like 4 or 5 games now where Wendell Carter Jr. against the Chicago Bulls just gets up. He just gets up for that game. He wants to pay it back to the Chicago Bulls, and he did so last night. Crushed it. Matt Clark says, you called Wendell Carter Jr. points and Cole Anthony assists. Great wins last night. Glad that you found some wins, Matt. That's what it's all about, my friend. Everyday Fantasy, a.k.a. my man Don P111 in Discord says, good morning to the best live PrizePicks NBA show on YouTube. CJ is the maestro and the chef. Thanks for everything you do. Patreon gang, y'all the for real. Y'all the for real. Appreciate that, man. Drew Brees, another Patreon member. Good morning. Good morning. Let's get this bread, this cheese, this cake. All of the above, for sure. All of the above. Going through the rest of these comments here. Seeing what you guys are talking about. Cry over kicks. Yo, bro, I told you I was going to be in the building. Let's make it money making Wednesday. Well, something like that. We'll go winning Wednesday. I like that. I like winning Wednesday. Leroy wants to get it popping. I can't blame you. Mac B, another member of our Patreon community, says, big bags last night. Yes, big bags. Many, many, many big bags of cash on PrizePicks. Coach Matthew Kitchell, smash that like for my dog. Appreciate you. Yeah, Taco Tuesday was good, Kissa. Taco Tuesday was definitely good. Tyrone says, sup, ZJ? Rough night last night. Let's win some money back. We will. Robert, Wagwan CJ. Love that. What's going on with you, Robert? Appreciate you. Chill Robots, what's up? Mamadou, what's up? Delvin, no fear. Shin Dog is here. Listen, Shin had himself a night last night. God bless you, man, Mr. Delvin Shin. You crushed it, brother. You crushed it. So shout out to everybody. Everybody in here who's joined me. So yeah, fantastic night last night. Listen, Patreon, we were on fire last night. Y'all know the drill. All right, let's go ahead and get through this slate, guys. We got 9 NBA games to talk about. We spent plenty of time saying what's up, shouting out everybody. Jeff, what's happening to Jeff Live? Taylor says, go Magic. Absolutely go Magic. Go Magic. Tony says, we were here. Great night last night. Another Patreon member. Based the Wolf says, I'm paying attention today. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right, guys. Let's get down to business. Washington Wizards, Philadelphia 76ers, 213.5 point total. 10-point spread here in favor of the home team, the Philadelphia 76ers. Bradley Beal is out tonight. I already told you guys. Kyle Kuzma under 3.5 assists. I don't know if he's up on the board today, but he's a name that maybe you should consider. Maybe we go under Spencer Dinwiddie points again tonight. He was at, 16.5 yesterday, 15.5 at one point. Maybe that's another play. We'll have to wait and see. But that's the big news there. Bradley Beal is out. For me, this game, probably a first half only play if you're going to take any overs. If you want to take some unders, I don't mind you going full game and slapping the unders on a game that looks like it could get out of hand here. Orlando Magic at Indiana Pacers. You already know You already know I'm riding with the Magic. I don't care if we are 11-41. I'm riding with the Magic, wins or losses. 7 p.m. tip-off time, 223.5 points with a 4-point spread in favor of the Indiana Pacers. So this game, pretty nice total here. Looks like it's going to stay close and competitive for the Magic. Fultz, Moore, Isaac, and Michael Carter-Williams already ruled out for the Indiana Pacers. They're going to be without some key players as well. No Malcolm Brogdon, no Domantas Sabonis, no Miles Turner, no TJ McConnell. So who's going to be starting at center? We'll have to wait and see. It could be Goga time. Goga Bitadze is a game time decision. If he ends up playing, he might be in for a nice night against Mo Bamba and Wendell Carter Jr. Or it might be the other thing. Maybe we go back to Wendell Carter Jr. and Mo Bamba against this beat-up Indiana Pacers front court. 7:30 p.m. brings us the Charlotte Hornets at the Boston Celtics, 227 points with a 5-point spread. A little revenge narrative there for Terry Rozier. Obviously, he was once a member of the Boston Celtics. Now he's with the Charlotte Hornets. I think, if I remember correctly, Terry Rozier typically does pretty well when he faces off against his former team. Although the last 5 to 10 games have been a little bit of a struggle for Rozier, maybe tonight is the night where he gets it back on track. So very nice total from this game with a 5-point spread. 7:30, the Memphis Grizzlies at the New York Knicks, 220 points, 4-point spread. It's favoring the road team, the Memphis Grizzlies. Keep an eye out on Steven Adams. Game time decision. Dillon Brooks already ruled out. And no D Rose per usual for the New York Knicks. Going down to the next game, 8 p.m., the Cleveland Cavaliers at the Houston Rockets, 220-point total, 5-point spread in favor of the road team once again here. The Cleveland Cavaliers out for the Cavs. Colin Sexton, Ricky Rubio, and Darius Garland. Their backcourt, pretty thin, pretty beat up right now. No Lauri Markkanen as well. Pretty impactful injury news there. That's why this game is just a 5-point spread. There's so many pieces of impactful injury news over on the Cleveland side. Over on the Houston side, nothing really worth talking about. They're going to have their full complement of players. So we'll move it on down to the next game. 8:30 p.m., Oklahoma City Thunder at the Dallas Mavericks. We got 209 points on this one. 12-point spread, folks. Got to put this one in the first half only bucket if you're looking to play some overs. If you're looking to take some unders, maybe you think the game gets out of hand and it ends up blowing out, I don't mind you taking unders in full game formats. This game does look like it could be one that gets out of hand. Over on the Oklahoma City side, SGA, Gilgeous-Alexander is out. Over on the Dallas side, Kristaps Porzingis and Tim Hardaway Jr. are both out for the Dallas Mavericks. So some pretty big pieces of injury news here. But yeah, not loving the total at just 209 points with a 12-point spread. I think this could be a good game to take some full game unders. Some full game unders potentially. 10 p.m., Brooklyn Nets at the Sacramento Kings, 233-point total. I'm going to say it again for you guys in the back. 233-point total, a massive total for this game with just a 4-point spread. Taking a look at some of the injury news here, we obviously know that Kevin Durant's out for Brooklyn. So is LaMarcus Aldridge and Joe Harris. Keep an eye on Nick Claxton, Dayshawn Sharp, and Paul Millsap, all game time decisions. Their front court could be pretty thin if those three guys end up missing this game. On the flip side, Sacramento, keep an eye on De'Aaron Fox. He is a game time decision. Marvin Bagley III and Terrence Davis already ruled out for Sacramento. So if Fox is out, then we have to imagine a nice little bump up for Ty Halliburton, right? It might be a good game for him. Let's move it on down to this other 10 p.m. game. Denver Nuggets at Utah Jazz. 223-point total, 2-point spread here in favor of the home team, the Utah Jazz. No Jamal Murray, Kankar, or Michael Porter Jr. Those guys have been out for Denver for the entire season just about. DeMarcus Cousins, game time decision. Looks like Nikola Jokic is in the starting lineup, so we don't have to worry about Joker. Over on the flip side of this game, no Donovan Mitchell. No Donovan Mitchell. He's still out for Utah. No Rudy Gobert, still out. Joe Ingles, man, his career might be over. He's kind of getting up there in years, and he just blew his knee out. Bad time to be Joe Ingles. He's going to be out as well, so it's going to be the likes of Hassan Whiteside, Jordan Clarkson starting for Utah, filling in with some of this injury news. But keep an eye on Whiteside. He is a game time decision. Moving on down to 10:30, the final game of the night, the Portland Trail Blazers at the Los Angeles Lakers, 223-point total, 3.5-point spread in favor of the Lakers, the home team here. Out for Portland, obviously Damian Lillard, Nas Little, Larry Nance Jr. all out. Over on the flip side, the Los Angeles Lakers, game time decision, LeBron James, but I think I did read something that LeBron will be playing. So you ain't got to worry about LeBron. I'm pretty sure he's going to be playing, if I remember correctly. He's currently not in the projected starting lineup on Number Fire, but I think I read something where LeBron should be good to go. But definitely stay on top of the news. All right, gang. That's it. That's the 9 games. Shout out to everybody who's just getting here. My man Dave Gutierrez says, smash that like button. Smash that like button. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, man. Keeping your foot on the gas with those likes. Let's go ahead and make sure that we have all the latest projections loaded in. I know it's kind of cut off on the screen here, but this is Fantasy Labs, and part of Fantasy Labs is Action Labs. Action Labs is a fantastic tool. Good way for you to do some player prop research in terms of getting projections, seeing how the lines are on the different sports betting sites and all that jazz. Action Labs has you covered. All right, so let's get into it. We're going to start things off like we typically do by looking at some points props. Who's been getting it done over the last 10 games at a high hit rate? That is just kind of the way that I like to start my research off on a slate. We got to filter it down somehow, right? We got all these different prop categories. We got all these different players. How are we going to kind of narrow down the field a little bit? Well, I do that by looking at hit rates. So the player with one of the highest hit rates over the last 10 games in terms of a point prop is this dude, Desmond Bane. 18.5 points over the last 10 games. He's covered this in 7 out of 10. That's a 70% hit rate. We look at the last 5 games, an 80% hit rate for Desmond Bane, averaging 23 points per game. Very good average. Now tonight, he's at just 18.5, but he is playing against a tough defensive unit in the New York Knicks. They play at a very grinded out, slow type of pace. So there will probably be less shots for Desmond Bane. And the shots that he does get a look at might be heavily contested, might be difficult for him to make those shots. So we got to be careful with teams when they go up against the New York Knicks. Knicks, again, just a slow pace, very defensive-minded team. They're tough, okay? They're tough. Let's go look at this matchup, though. Desmond Bane, obviously the shooting guard for Memphis, going up against the Knicks. So we'll look at the points category here on Fantasy Pros. Totally free tool for you to check out, by the way. It's been very, very helpful for me. Very helpful for me to identify weaknesses, matchups that we can target and exploit, right? So we got to go down here. The New York Knicks giving up about 20.5 points per game to opposing shooting guards. So that's about 2 points higher than Desmond Bane's line of 18.5 points. So like a 2-point difference. But you can kind of see where the New York Knicks rank, right? Amongst all NBA teams over the last 7 games. They're down toward the bottom, like top 10 fewest points allowed to the shooting guard position. So it could be a difficult matchup, at least on paper for Desmond Bane. Looking at the projections for Bane, 17.9 points, which is a little less than 18.5. Even if we were feeling generous and we want to round this up from 17.9 to 18, of course, 18 is not enough to get it done if we're thinking about taking an over on Desmond Bane. But looking across the board here, 4 different sports books, 2 out of the 4, we're seeing the betting public with action over 18.5 points. So they're putting their money down on the over at 18.5 points, despite what looks like a difficult matchup against the Knicks. So very high hit rates over the last 10 and last 5 games for Bane, but the matchup probably not the easiest one in the world. Another guy that we're going to talk about here, Mr. Terry Rozier, who is at 19.5 points. We talked about him in a little bit of a revenge game, if you want to say that. A little bit of a narrative here against his former team, the Boston Celtics. Scary Terry Rozier, 19.5 points, 70% hit rate. Looking at the last 5, it's been a little more shaky. He's only covered 19.5 points in 2 out of 5 games. There was a period of time not too long ago where this dude was on fire. Not so much anymore. He's been struggling in the last 5 games. So let's go ahead and take a look at this projection. Well, the matchup first, and then we'll look at the projection. Terry Rozier obviously playing the shooting guard spot. Boston Celtics giving up nearly 23 points per game. So you can kind of see they rank about middle of the pack, middle of the league in terms of points allowed, and that puts them kind of close to the top. But, not an overly difficult, not an overly easy matchup for Terry Rozier. So now let's go take a look at the projections for Rozier. I got Rozier projected for 20 20.6 points. Now, kind of interesting here. Take a look at these 4 different sports books, 18.5, 18.5, 18.5, and there's one site that has them at 19.5. Now, typically, PrizePicks takes the lower number. They take the lower number, but in this case, they've taken a higher stance here on Terry Rozier at 19.5. What I'll say is this, at 19.5 points over on PointsBet, people are betting the under, minus 125 odds to go under 19.5 points. But at 18.5, people are taking the over. So you're kind of getting some mixed signals here, right? 2 different points props on a number of different sites. 18.5, they're taking the over. 19.5, they're taking the under. But he is projected to go over. So what I'd like to do is go a little bit further with this prop. Terry Rozier versus Boston Celtics logs. I want to see how he's done as a member of the Charlotte Hornets versus his former team, the Boston Celtics. So we go back to November 7th, 2019. You can kind of see how his minutes have gone in these games, but going back at 19.5 points, he's only covered this prop in 3 games. Now, the last time that he met Boston was this season, January 19th. And he dropped 28 points in 41 minutes of court time. So I guess that's a good sign. 28 points, 4 rebounds, 10 assists. Just had himself a heck of a game against the Boston Celtics back on January 19th. So maybe he runs it back. Maybe he's able to repeat that success tonight. So just kind of wanted to give you a little bit more context, go a little bit further on this Terry Rozier prop. Been struggling the last 5 games, so I don't know that I completely love it. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Christian Wood at 18.5 points. He's going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers, but at 18.5 points over the last 10 games, he's covered 18.5 points in 7 out of 10 games. 70% hit rate. So pretty good job for Christian Wood over the last 10. We look at the last 5 games here. In 3 out of 5 games, he's covered 18.5 points, but his average is just 18.4. So it's actually slightly less than the 18.5 line that he's at today. So let's look at this matchup. Obviously, he's going to have a tough time. 2 very long defenders, right? Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley. He's going to have to go against both of those guys. So let's check and see how Cleveland has done here in the last 7 games in the points department against opposing centers. We go all the way down here. Cleveland giving up just about 19 to 20 points per game over the last 7 games. That's actually the 7th fewest. So the matchup here on paper for Wood, gonna be kind of a difficult one. Very little upside when the team's averaging just 19.8 points allowed to the opposing center spot, right? Just a 1-point difference versus his line at 18.5. So could be a tough game for Christian Wood in this case. Let's pull up a projection for Christian Wood. I got him projected for 19.7 points. I'm seeing him at 2 different numbers on 4 different books. Most of the books have him at 18.5 points, but there's at least one book that has him at 19.5 points. At 18.5 points, he's being bet over 18.5, but at 19.5 points, he's being bet under. They think he's going to stay under 19.5 points. So somewhere between 18.5 and 19.5 lies 19 points. Maybe that's in Christian Wood's future tonight. We'll have to wait and see, but the matchup on paper looking like a tough one against Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. Other guys to maybe consider that we can get into later if you guys are interested. Miles Bridges, a 70% hit rate at 20.5 points. Ja Morant, 27.5 points. He's rocking a 70% hit rate, as is Yusuf Nurkic at 16.5 points. He's covered that prop in 7 out of his last 10 games. So those are some other guys, some other names to consider. We've talked plenty about points. Let's go ahead and take a look at some rebounds, and then we'll get into the assists, and then we'll mix them all together and do the points plus rebounds plus assists in just a moment. Appreciate you guys rocking with me this morning. Yeah, my dog, he's going nuts. I don't know what he's barking at. Maybe there's a roach or something on the ground. Maybe there's a rat. No, I'm kidding. I don't live in poverty or anything like that. I don't have roaches or rats, but he's barking at something. Sometimes he just misses me. He just misses me while I'm in here talking to you guys, and he just wants to be close to me, and I don't know. He has separation anxiety, so. Sorry you folks have to deal with the loud barking hound dog out there. Let's look at these rebound props. While you guys slap the like button, I'll pull up who the highest hit rate rebounders are over the last 10 games. And we're going right back to them, guys. We already talked about Terry Rozier at his point prop might be a good look. Terry Rozier at his 3.5 rebound prop could also be one worth considering. He's not up on the board right now, but I can tell you this. 8 out of his last 10 games, he's covered 3.5 rebounds. So if you can get Rozier somewhere at 3.5 rebounds, you're probably not going to get him here on PrizePicks unless they add him later in the day. But you should definitely be thinking about some Terry Rozier over 3.5 boards. Another guy to consider, Mr. Jalen Suggs of the Orlando Magic. Is he up on the board? Let's take a look. Any Suggs? Nope. I guess that Suggs for us, but Jalen Suggs at 3.5 rebounds, 70% hit rate for him. Here's a guy that we actually can talk about. Finally we get one. Joel Embiid at 11.5 rebounds. 11.5 rebounds, 70% hit rate in the last 10 games. We look at the last 5 games, an 80% hit rate. Embiid's been getting on the boards. Had 13 against the Clippers, 12 against the Spurs, 14 against the Pels, 12 against Sacramento. He did fall short, though, against Anthony Davis and the Los Angeles Lakers, pulling in just 9 boards. He struggled against the Lake Show. Will he get back on track against Washington tonight? He's going to be facing the likes of Thomas Bryant, Daniel Gafford, probably some Kyle Kuzma in there. Might see some Montrezl Harrell, maybe some Montrezl Harrell. So they've got a number of different guys, a number of different bodies that they might end up throwing at Joel Embiid tonight. But once again, 11.5 rebounds, last 10 and last 5 have been pretty good for the process. So let's take a look at the rebounds allowed by the Washington Wizards to opposing centers over the last 7 games. Are they giving up a ton of boards, or are they being pretty greedy and stingy? Got to go down toward the bottom of the list. They rank pretty low in terms of rebounds allowed, which means they are stingy. They're giving up just over 13 rebounds per game to opposing centers. So this one could be kind of difficult here for Joel Embiid against the team allowing just the 8th fewest rebounds per game to the 5 spot. All right, so let's go take a look at the projections here. We'll flip this over to rebounds, and then we'll pull up Joel Embiid. Got him projected to go under 11.5 boards, just 10.8 projected rebounds. Now, he's only up on 2 different sports books right now. One site, he's a betting favorite to go over at -125 odds. The other site, he's even Steven. No action on the over, no action on the under for Joel Embiid's rebounds there. So could be a difficult matchup for Joel Embiid here against the Washington Wizards. If you want, you can go and use StatMuse to kind of get an idea of Joel Embiid rebounds versus Wizards logs. And you can kind of see how Joel Embiid has fared this season. He's got 2 games against the Washington Wizards this season. One game he had 13 rebounds and 31 minutes of playing time. The most recent matchup, January 17th, played 29 minutes, ended up with just 8 rebounds. And then you can kind of see over the course of his career at 11.5 boards, the last 5 haven't been too kind to Joel Embiid. He's gone over in just 2 out of 5. So kind of gives you an idea, a little bit more insight. Just open your mind a little bit. You got to dig a little deeper sometimes on some of these props and kind of see, does this player have a good historical hit rate against this particular team? How have the previous matchups gone this season? Things like that are things that you need to be thinking of. All right, other rebound props. Jalen Green at 3.5 rebounds. He's actually been getting it done here, guys. It's not a name that we click on a whole lot, but at 3.5 boards over the last 10 games, he is sporting a 70% hit rate. A 70% hit rate. If you are looking at the last 5 games for Jalen Green, a 3.5 rebounds, 4 out of 5 hit rate. 80%. So Jalen Green quietly has been getting on the glass. He's been rebounding the basketball pretty well. 70% in the last 10, 80% in the last 5. Let's go look at this matchup. He will be the shooting guard for the Houston Rockets. We could go take a look at Cleveland, see how many boards they've been giving up to opposing shooting guards over the last 7 games. They're kind of middle of the pack, giving up about 6 boards per game. He only needs to find 4. Totally doable here in this matchup. I think it's totally doable, especially with the likes of Garland, Sexton, Rubio all out. I mean, Cleveland's going to be pretty thin in that backcourt. Maybe Jalen Green finds 4 rebounds. He's done so pretty well over the last 10 and last 5 games. Jalen Green, I've got him projected for 4 boards, which is just enough to get the job done. But at 3.5 rebounds, 3 different sports books, 3 different sites, you're seeing some action on the under at 3.5, and you're seeing some action, a little stronger action, on the over at 3.5. So we're seeing some mixed signals here in terms of where real life people are putting down their money on these various sports betting sites. So could be a tricky one there. Could be a tricky one despite the high hit rates. Another guy that we should probably consider who's been getting it done on the glass here, Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum at 7.5 rebounds, a 70% hit rate in his last 10 games. But we look at him over the last 5 games, the hit rate's not so great, right? Things get a little shaky here. He's hit 8 or more rebounds in 3 out of 5 games. So I guess technically it's a 60% hit rate. But in terms of him actually going over 8 rebounds, he's only done that twice in the last 5 games. So the more recent sample size for Jason Tatum, a little bit more concerning. Let's look at the matchup here. He's a small forward. We're talking rebounds, and we want to see how the Charlotte Hornets do against opposing small forwards. You can see where they rank, giving up the 6th most rebounds per game to the small forward position. We already know that they'll be without Gordon Hayward. It sounds like Kelly Oubre is going to play. He'll probably come off the bench. I don't know if they'll end up starting him or not. But Charlotte giving up the 6th most rebounds per game to opposing small forwards in the last 7 games. So looks like a plus or positive matchup here for Jason Tatum. Let's pull a projection up for Tatum. Always tricky to try to figure out how these Boston Celtics will rebound. I mean, you got good rebounders in Robert the Time Lord Williams. You've got Al Horford battling for boards. You got Jaylen Brown, who likes to get in there and get his hands on the basketball. So it's always kind of tough to tell who's going to be the guy, right? Who's going to pull in the rebounds on any given night. So for me, I've been staying off of the Boston Celtics rebound props. But if you feel some type of way about one of these guys, maybe it's Jason Tatum, maybe it's Robert Williams, then take one of their props. But I can tell you this, Jason Tatum projected for 8.6 boards. Now we're seeing him at 7.5 and 8.5 rebounds on a number of different sites. At 8.5 rebounds, a betting favorite to go under at -150. And then at 7.5 boards, he's a betting favorite to go over. So PrizePicks said, we're going to split the difference. We're going to put him up at 8 boards. So this one, I think, has the potential to go over, but I would not be surprised if it ends up being a push. Who else is standing out here? Well, we talked a little bit about Christian Wood. He could be a consideration. Maybe Miles Bridges, Yusuf Nurkic. All these guys are like in the 60% hit range in the last 10 games. So we'll go ahead and switch it up. We've talked points, rebounds. Now we're going to talk a few dime droppers. We're talking assists. And while I'm taking a swig of water here, I'd appreciate an assist from you. And what I mean by that is slap that like button if you haven't yet. I appreciate your support. Got to stay hydrated on stream, people. You just got to stay hydrated in life. Bet a lot of you aren't drinking enough water. Make sure you're getting your water intake for the day, all right? This is your public service announcement. Now, we can't talk assist props without talking about this little guy right here. The younger brother of the great Stephen Curry, Mr. Seth Curry himself, at 4.5 rebounds. As a fellow Curry, I must talk about at least one Curry per stream. So why not Seth Curry tonight? 80% hit rate over the last 10 games at 4.5 dimes. We look at the last 5 games for Seth. At 4.5 assists, he has gone over in 80% of those games as well. So he's pretty steady Freddy at 80% hit rate, averaging 5.2 dimes per game over the last 5 games. Let's go look at this matchup here. Curry could be considered the shooting guard, could be considered the point guard, tomato, positionless NBA. We're going to look at the matchup for both, though. Against the Washington Wizards, Washington giving up just 3.6 assists per game to shooting guards, second fewest. That is under 4 assists for you guys keeping tally at home. So shooting guards not having a great time in terms of assists versus this Washington Wizards squad. Going down and looking at the point guard position, they're limiting point guards to just 7.3 assists, which is the 4th fewest. So Washington's putting the clamps on both guard spots in the assist column. Now he needs just 5. They're giving up over 7 per game. So, there's definitely some wiggle room. There's a chance that he gets it done. In fact, back on January 17th against this same Washington Wizards team, he did get it done. Ended up tallying 5 assists. So we know that he can get it done against Washington, despite what looks like a difficult matchup on paper. So let's go take a look at the projections here for Mr. Seth Curry and see what the Action Labs projection tools have to say tonight. Ooh, they got it projected for 3.5 assists. Dang, dog. They think he's going to go under. The betting public also taking the under at 4.5 assists, minus 125 betting favorite to go under on one site, minus 130 betting favorite to go under on another site. So they said, bump you and your high hit rate, Seth Curry. We don't believe in you tonight. What do you guys think, chat? Do we believe in Seth Curry tonight? Thumbs up in the chat. Leave a thumbs up emoji in the chat if you're taking the over on Seth Curry. Leave a thumbs down in the chat if you're going to fade it or you're going to take the under on Seth Curry. Let me know. How you guys feeling about this? Terry Rozier is another guy. His assist prop has been very, very popular. Very, very kind to a lot of people. Rozier, 3.5 assists today. They've dropped his assist number from 4.5, where it's been in previous days, down to 3.5. We're not getting Terry Rozier's assists up on the board, at least not on PrizePicks. Maybe we will later in the day. But at 3.5 assists, a 70% hit rate in the last 10 games. And we already talked about the last time that he faced the Boston Celtics. He dropped 10 dimes on him. So PrizePicks playing keep away with the Terry Rozier assist prop at 3.5. Carlos says he's not only fading the prop, he's fading the entire 76ers and Washington Wizards game. Bold move, man. Bold move. But I respect it. I respect bold moves. So if you can get Terry Rozier at 3.5 assists somewhere, 70% hit rate for him. His teammate is on the board, though. I'm talking LaMelo Ball. His assist rate, not bad at 6.5, 70% for him over the last 10 games. We look at the last 5 games, 60% hit rate for LaMelo Ball. Now, this is a guy who we've seen in the past up at 7.5 assists, even as high as 8 assists, 8.5 assists on PrizePicks. So we're getting him down at 6.5 today against the Boston Celtics. So maybe this is a good play for an over. Let's go look at the matchup here. Point guard position, we're talking assists. Boston giving up about 8.5 to 9 assists per game to opposing point guards, which puts them right around the middle of the pack. So I'd call this an average matchup, a neutral matchup, not one that's overly hard, not one that's going to be overly squishy and easy for LaMelo Ball. But there is some upside here, being that Boston's giving up about 2 more assists per game on average to point guards over the last 7 versus his line of 6.5. So I think there's definitely some room here for some upside on LaMelo. Now I've got LaMelo Ball projected for 8.4 assists, folks. 8.4 assists. I will tell you this. It's very rare that we get a prop up on the PrizePicks board with odds as high as minus 145 and minus 155 out on different sports books. I will also mention this. At least one book, their lines makers, have LaMelo Ball up at 7.5 assists. So there's 1 assist value here on PrizePicks at 6.5. So very strong betting favorite to go over 6.5, and we're seeing him as high as 7.5 according to lines makers at PointsBet. So this could be an interesting play. Let's take a look at this real quick. We can go LaMelo Ball versus Celtics logs. Now, he's only got 2 career games for what I'm seeing here. 2 career games against the Boston Celtics. But I will tell you this. It's looking pretty good. Back on October 25th, 2021, which was this season, the beginning of the season, my man dropped 9 dimes on the Boston Celtics. And as recently as January 19th, 32 minutes against Boston, he dropped a triple-double, 15 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 dimes. So at 6.5 assists, I ain't mad at you if you want to take the over on LaMelo Ball. I ain't mad at you. He's gotten it done twice with 9 and 10 assists against Boston in earlier matchups this season. Thumbs up if you're taking the over on LaMelo Ball. Thumbs down if you're thinking about taking the under. Now you guys are saying LaMelo Ball's already been bumped up from 6.5 to 7. Say it ain't so. People are already jumping on this. I think they've just discovered what we just discovered. The historical success rate of LaMelo Ball versus the Boston Celtics. Listen, I ain't mad at it. Even at 7, I'm not mad at it. You've seen 9 and 10 assists upside from LaMelo versus Boston. All that means is that him going from 6.5 up to 7 means there's a chance that it pushes if we take the over. Where before, it was a clean win if he landed on 7 assists. A push isn't the end of the world, right? We ain't mad at a push. I mean, we can be mad at a push in some situations, but we're more mad if we lose. So now there's a chance that we push, and it's not a clean victory for us. But I still don't hate LaMelo Ball at 7 assists, being that I've seen him do 9 and 10 assists against this same Boston Celtics squad. All right. Now, I know a lot of you are going to have some PTSD when it comes to this guy. A lot of you guys are going to have some PTSD when it comes to Desmond Bane and his assist prop. Why? Well, look at what he did against Philadelphia. A lot of you guys were on Desmond Bane to go over 2.5 assists against the Philadelphia 76ers a couple days ago, and he didn't get it done. He finished with 1 dime. But, I encourage you to try to have a short-term memory. Try to put the past behind you. Try to forgive Desmond Bane. Why? Why should you? Well, over the last 10 games, a 70% hit rate. 7 out of 10, he's gone over 2.5. In the last 5 games, an 80% hit rate. He's gone over in 4 out of 5. Yes, he had that bad game against Philadelphia. He's averaging 3 assists, though, in the last 5 games. So, will you learn to trust? Will you learn to forgive again? That is the real question. Let's look at the matchup here before we go too far in believing in Desmond Bane going over tonight, right? New York Knicks giving up almost 4 assists per game, which is the 5th fewest. They're giving up 3.7 per game over the last 7 games. He needs 3. So there's some upside, a little bit of it, a little bit of ceiling here for Desmond Bane, but he could get it done. He could definitely get it done, right? You know me, I like going back to a prop after a flop. Bars. I like going back to a prop after a flop. He definitely flopped against Philly. A lot of you are going to still, like I said, have some feelings about that. Some not so good feelings about that. Desmond Bane's projection, 2.8 assists today. At least one site, he is a betting favorite right now, according to the public. They're putting their money down on Desmond Bane. They think he is going to go over 2.5 assists against the New York Knicks. Okay? Just saying, maybe there's an opportunity for a bounce back. Are you going back to Desmond Bane? Or is it going to be Desmond Payne? More pain tonight for Desmond Bane. We'll have to wait and see. We can't predict the future. We just do our best. Franz Wagner, another guy at 2.5 assists, not up on the board, but Franz Wagner at 2.5 dimes has covered in 70% of his games. Another guy worth considering is Anthony Simons. He is not up on the PrizePicks board at the moment, but Anthony Simons at 5.5 dimes, a 70% hit rate for him as well. All right, so we've talked points, we've talked rebounds, we've talked assists. Let's put them all together and talk some PRA. And while that's loading up, I need you guys to do me a favor and load me up with some likes. Slap the like button. Por favor. That means please in Espanol. No, I'm not bilingual. I'm trilingual, which means I try to speak Spanish, but I'm not very good at it. I know a little bit. Un poquito. I know agua. That's what I'm sipping on. A little bit of agua. The H2O, the good stuff. All right, family, let's go ahead and take a look at the PRA, the points, the rebounds, and the assists. You guys are screaming out, Kevin Porter Jr.'s PRA. Whew. I don't know. I don't know if I'm on Kevin Porter Jr. Let's start with some of the high hit rate PRA players, folks. Simple question, 2 words. Got wood? Got wood? Christian Wood, 31.5 PRA the last 10 games, 8 out of 10, an 80% hit rate. Doing doing the Lord's work out here in the points, rebounds, and assists category. We look at the last 5 games, still rocking the 80% hit rate. 34 PRA. But do we want to go back to Christian Wood? We know the hit rates are great, but that's not the end-all be-all, right? Got to consider this matchup here against Cleveland. Talked about 2 long athletic defenders, Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley. They're going to be trying to put the clamps on Christian Wood, and they might have success. They might actually get it done putting the clamps on Mr. Christian Wood. Let's look at the Cleveland Cavaliers here over the last 7 games. See how many PRA, points, rebounds, and assists they're giving up to the center position. They're giving up about 20 points per game. They're giving up about 15.5 rebounds. There we are at 35.5 PRA. And they're giving up about 3 assists per game. So about 38.5 PRA if we round some numbers. 38.5 PRA. My man Christian Wood needs at least 32 PRA to hit the over. So there's some room, some upside for Christian Wood. Let's take a look at the projections for Mr. Christian Wood. Got him projected for 33 PRA. Seeing him at 31.5 PRA on other sports books. Being bet under, though. They think he's going to go under 31.5 points, rebounds, and assists. We could take this a step further because I think Christian Wood with his high hit rates might end up trapping some people. So let's look at this matchup. Christian Wood, points plus rebounds plus assists logs versus Cleveland. Do we have any previous game logs? We do not. We do not. You can see that he pops up here as a member of the Detroit Pistons. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, once upon a time, he was a Philadelphia 76er as well. I think him and Embiid would be kind of a fun little combo in the front court. But listen, that was all the way back in 2015. Christian Wood's been around for a while, folks. But all that to say, we don't have any previous game logs of Christian Wood as a member of the Houston Rockets versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. So we can't really lean on anything from the past here. But I can tell you this, looks like it could be a difficult matchup, right? Putting all the numbers aside, you think about the defenders in Cleveland. These are some tough boys. So maybe Christian Wood's not the best play for an over against a tough defensive squad in Cleveland. Matisse Thybulle. He is popping up here because at 10.5 PRA, I don't think we're going to get him up on PrizePicks. We are not. But Matisse Thybulle, if you could play his PRA somewhere else, 70% hit rate at 10.5. Robert Covington, 16.5 PRA, 70% hit rate for him. Do we have Robert Covington on the board? We do. Holy smokes, we got Robert Covington on the board. Robert Covington, 16.5 PRA, 70% hit rate over the last 10 games. We look at the last 5, 60% hit rate. His average, 16.4. Going up against the Los Angeles Lakers tonight. Let's take a look here. Covington, kind of the power forward right now, right, for Portland. Am I wrong on that? I think I'm right on that, though. With all the injuries and stuff, I think he slipped more into the power forward role. Undersized power forward, but power forward nonetheless. Lakers giving up about 20.5 points, about 10 boards. So there you are already at 30.5 PRA. And then they're giving up about 3.7 assists. Let's call it 4 assists per game. So about 34, 35 PRA given up to opposing power forwards. So I think Robert Covington has some potential here against the Los Angeles Lakers. There's some upside here for Robert Covington, just based on the averages that the Lakers are giving up in the last 7 games. He is projected for 17 points, rebounds, and assists, and at 16.5 PRA, he is being bet over at minus 130 odds. So some pretty significant money coming in on the over for Robert Covington. Rocco. Who else should we be considering? Maybe Mitchell Robinson of the New York Knicks at 17.5. We're waiting to see if Steven Adams is in or out tonight. But Mitchell Robinson at 17.5, the only other player on the last 10 game log here who has hit for 70% or higher. So you guys might have some ill will, some mixed feelings about playing Mitchell Robinson, but at 17.5 points, rebounds, and assists, the last 10 games he's hit in 7 out of 10. The last 5 games he's hit in 4 out of 5, which is an 80% hit rate, averaging nearly 21 PRA. If Adams is out, I think I like some Mitchell Robinson even better. Even better. So let's take a look at it. Black Sheep, I'm going to definitely take a look at that KPJPRA for you. Give me just a minute. Trey Prince already saying Mitchell Robinson's looking kind of good. Pause. We're talking about his PRA's looking kind of good here. Don't be getting weird on me. Mitchell Robinson against this Memphis Grizzlies team. Let's go see how many PRA they're giving up. Points. They're giving up about 21 points per game. They're giving up over 15 rebounds per game. We're already at 36, 37 PRA. And we sprinkle in some assists. We're at about 40 points, rebounds, and assists given up to opposing centers over the last 7 games. This guy just needs 18 PRA. Points, rebounds, and assists. Let's go pull a projection up for Mitchell Robinson. Matchup's looking kind of decent. I think it gets even sweeter, even better for him without Steven Adams, so we'll have to keep an eye on him. But I do have him projected for 18.6 points, rebounds, and assists. At 17.5, though, the betting public seems to disagree. They don't think that Mitchell Robinson will cover 17.5 PRA, despite the fact that he's at a 70% hit rate in the last 10 and an 80% hit rate in the last 5. Betting public doesn't believe in Mitchell Robinson. Do you believe in Mitchell Robinson, though, based on what we've seen here? Thumbs up if you're taking the over. Thumbs down if we're taking the under or just fading. In other words, walking away from this prop, not taking it at all. That's what fade means. I heard you guys talking about what does fade mean. But yeah, thumbs up if you're taking the over on Mitchell Robinson. Drop a thumbs down if you're not feeling it. All right, I've seen Kevin Porter Jr.'s name come up a number of times here. So we're going to finally do the Lord's work for Mr. Black Sheep, who left the $3.33. He wants to talk about some Kevin Porter Jr. PRA. Listen, my man, I'd be happy to. We're going to do it right here, right now for you. You're saying at 100% hit rate. Kevin Porter at 25.5. I'm showing an 80% hit rate. Unless his line has been bumped down. Maybe it's moved. Let's go look at it. I refreshed. Sometimes you got to refresh in these PrizePicks streets. You got to make sure that you're getting all the latest props pulled in. Yeah, I'm showing an 80% hit rate. Not quite 100%. But I could see why you're on this. Now listen. Kevin Porter Jr. Maybe there's revenge narrative here. Former Cleveland Cavalier. Some of you may not remember. Some of you hoop heads probably do remember. Maybe he's extra motivated when he suits up tonight, taking on his former team, the Cleveland Cavaliers. We know the Cavaliers' backcourt extremely thin right now. They ain't got a whole lot of talent back there to stop anybody. Who's going to stand in Kevin Porter Jr.'s way? It won't be Darius Garland. It won't be Colin Sexton. And it won't be Ricky Rubio. Rajon Rondo? Are you going to be the guy standing in the way? Old man Rajon Rondo? I don't know. Maybe. But yeah, Kevin Porter Jr. going up against his former team, Cleveland Cavaliers. So maybe he gets motivated. Let's find out. Cleveland over the last 7 games, giving up about 19.8 points. Let's call it 20 points just for easy math. Giving up about 7 rebounds. We're already at 27 PRA. We add in about 7.5 boards. Looking at about 34.5 points, rebounds, and assists given up to opposing point guards over the last 5 games. So there's definitely some upside. He needs just 26 PRA in this matchup. Let's go take a look at his projection. Got him projected at 26.6 points, rebounds, and assists. He is a betting favorite to go over on at least one site. Minus 120 over, 25.5 on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Do we think Kevin Porter Jr. gets extra motivated when he plays Cleveland? Is he like Wendell Carter Jr. against the Bulls last night? I don't know. Let's look at it, though. Kevin Porter Jr., points, rebounds, and assist logs versus Cleveland. Hey now. That's not what I asked you. Stat views. Let's try that again. Kevin Porter Jr., points plus rebounds plus assist logs versus Cleveland. We've never seen it before. Get the J.R. Smith picture here. He's looking at me like, what the? What you talking about? They understood the question, but there were no results. So that typically means we do not have any previous game logs of Kevin Porter Jr. versus Cleveland. So this is breaking new ground here. This will be the first time we see KPJ versus the Cavaliers. Might be worth taking a shot on, though. Maybe the young man comes out with a little bit of extra motivation. A little extra motivation. Razor Ramon says KPJ PRA is the vibe. Or maybe it's just PA. Maybe you're just liking PA. Yeah, I know it's going to be tough, Ant. It's going to be tough. We've seen some point guards struggle against the twin towers of power, Jared Allen and Evan Mobley in the past. Aaron Rodgers is saying that he's liking some Kevin Porter Jr. points, rebounds, and assists first. Then he's liking just the assists second. And then he's liking just the points third. Leave J.R. Smith alone. Listen, J.R. Smith's about to make the PGA Tour or something, right? Shout out to J.R. Smith trying to become a professional golfer as well. Trying to become a pro golfer as well. So there's your Kevin Porter Jr. PRA breakdown. All right. Now that we've talked some PRA, let's move it on to 3-point makes, and then we'll start taking some of your questions. Just a few different 3-point make options. Just a few, not a whole lot to talk about here. We got Marcus Smart up at 1.5 3-point makes. I'll tell you this, the last 10 games, Marcus Smart has gone over 1.5 3-point makes. Remember when we were talking about Marcus Smart the other day for his 3-point makes? We talked about him against New Orleans, and I had told you that very rarely in the last 25 games has Marcus Smart put up 2 back-to-back duds when it comes to 3-point makes. You see, he's got this weird little holding pattern where it's been feast or famine from beyond the arc. 2 against Washington, 0 against Sacramento, 2 against Atlanta, and then he had 0 against New Orleans. And I was telling you guys, hey, there's a chance Marcus Smart bounces back. And boy, did he. He bounced back in a pretty good way against the Miami Heat, draining 4 threes. Maybe he falls back down to 0 again tonight. But like I said to you before, very rarely this season does he have 2 bad games back to back. So if he does put up a 0 tonight, then you got to take the over in the next game, right? You just got to go back to it. Let's take a look at Marcus Smart in this matchup. He's going up against the Charlotte Hornets. Obviously, point guard for the Boston Celtics. Let's see how many threes per game Charlotte's given up to opposing point guards. Listen, they're giving up the first most 3-pointers made to opposing point guards in the last 7 games. Over 4 triples per game. My man Marcus Smart needs to find just 2. That's all we're asking for. Just 2 3-pointers tonight against Charlotte. So, very good matchup. Actually, the best matchup you could ask for a point guard in a 3-point prop, right? Let's go pull a projection up for Marcus Smart here. Boston Celtics point guard is projected for 1.6 3-point makes. We've got him on 2 different books, 2 different sites as a betting favorite to go over 1.5 threes. Let's take this research a step further here. We'll go Marcus Smart, 3 p.m. versus Hornets logs. And we can get an idea how many times Marcus Smart has actually covered this. So he's faced the Hornets just 1 time this season. Back on October 25th, start of the season. Only made 1 3 against them. Now, last season, faced them twice, ended up hitting the over in both of those games, 3 and 4 3-point makes respectively. But you can kind of get an idea here just by looking at some of these bar graphs, 2 or more threes, how many times he's done that, right? You don't want to go back too far. I mean, his game logs go all the way back to 2014. We ain't got to go all the way back to 2014. But here recently, last 3 games, last 5 games, done a pretty decent job. So a fantastic matchup for Marcus Smart on paper. Maybe he finds a way to get done. High hit rate for him, though. Like I said, last 10 games, 80% hit rate. Anthony Simons, not going to be up on the board, but at 3.5 3-point makes an 80% hit rate for him. Could be a good look. RJ Barrett, he's a New York Knick. Don't really trust RJ Barrett, but at 1.5 3-point makes, 70% hit rate for him. This little guy right here, Justin Holiday. Nice little sniper. Nice little marksman with all the injuries to the Indiana Pacers. He's been doing a pretty good job of hitting his 3-point prop of 2.5. Last 10 games, 70% hit rate We look at the last 5, 60% hit rate. We could look at the matchup here against the Orlando Magic. He is typically slotted in at the small forward spot. We got Duarte, or Duarte if you prefer, at the shooting guard spot. So let's take a look and see how Orlando has done at defending the 3 ball when it comes to the 3 spot, the small forward spot. They're like inside the top 15. So it's not an overly difficult matchup by any stretch of the imagination for Justin Holiday here against Orlando, giving up about 2.7 3-point makes. So he would need to have a pretty good night versus this Magic squad. Let's go ahead and pull up a projection for you. Got Justin Holiday projected for 2.8 3-point makes, which is a lot closer to 3 than it is 2. But at 2.5, he is a betting favorite to go under at -115 odds. Nobody else really standing out. Maybe you take a shot here on CJ McCollum. Maybe you take a shot because in the last 10 games, he's covered his 2.5 3-point makes in 7 out of 10. And he's got back-to-back underperforming games. At some point, CJ McCollum will come back to life. Is he going to make it 3 games in a row? 3 bad games in a row where he's going under 2.5 3-point makes. This feels like a good time to get back on CJ McCollum going over 2.5 3-point makes. Let's just look at this matchup real quick. He's the shooting guard for Portland. No Damian Lillard means a lot more shots for the likes of CJ McCollum. We go down here, the Los Angeles Lakers giving up about 3.5 3-point makes per game to opposing shooting guards. So not a very difficult matchup versus the Lake Show whatsoever. This could be a good spot. This could be a good spot for him to get back on track. Let's also look at the point guard position because him and Anthony Simons kind of interchangeable for this Portland Trailblazers backcourt. They're giving up about 2.3 3-point makes to opposing point guards, which is a lot more of a difficult matchup if you're a point guard. All right, let's pull a projection up for McCollum, and then we'll get to some of your questions tonight. I got McCollum projected for 3.2 3-point makes, which is a solid number. He needs at least 3 to get the job done. 3.2, we should be thinking about leaning toward the over. I'll tell you this, at 2.5 3-point makes on 2 different books, 2 different sites, he is a betting favorite at -135 and -140 odds to cover 2.5 3-point makes. That means to go over. And then one last time here, let's pull him up. CJ McCollum, 3 p.m. versus Lakers logs. And we'll kind of get an idea of how well he's performed with this number. He met the Lakers back on November 6th, has 1 previous matchup from this season. Played just 24 minutes in that game, though. Ended up with just 7 points. Ooh, ugly game. But he did make 1 3 against the Lakers in that. So he didn't play a whole lot of minutes there, so I think we could kind of throw that one out. But looking at some of these other game logs, looks like it's been somewhat difficult for McCollum to go over this 2.5 number against the Lakers historically. Now I want to take the Lakers out of the mix, and I just want to look at his game logs from this season. I want to see how many games in a row CJ McCollum has gone under 2.5 before he like slumps out or breaks out of the slump rather. So this is like somewhere around the last 25 games. So he has had stretches where he's gone for 1, 0, 1, 1, like a 4-game stretch where he stayed under 2.5 3-point makes. That was a while back. That was back in November. Let's look at the last 10 games here for a more recent sample size. Very rarely here in the last 10 to 15 games does he go under 2.5 3-point makes 3 games in a row. So it's kind of the same idea, same principle that I laid out for you on that Marcus Smart prop, where he didn't typically have 3 bad games in a row from beyond the arc. Really, if you eliminate these 5 games from back in November and you kind of just look from here on, November 14th and on, he hasn't had any games, no games where he has gone under 2.5 3-point makes for 3 consecutive games. It's just something worth pointing out, right? He's had back-to-back bad games, so I don't know. It just seems like one of those spots where this guy finally pops back up and drops at least 3 threes, right? Because it's been very rare that we've seen him have back-to-back bad games, but it's been even more rare to see him have back-to-back-to-back bad games from beyond the arc. So put him on your radar. I think there's a chance against the Lakers that he comes back to life. Back to life. All right, gang. That's it for me. That is the end of me talking to you about what looks like some of the best props. So now, you guys get to tell me what you're liking. Drop your favorite picks. Drop your favorite plays. Yeah, Trey Prince is saying CJ will shoot 22 times and score 20 plus points. He's going to get some buckets up, right? Or he's going to get some shots up and get some buckets, I think. I think so. Franz Wagner, first half fantasy points. Let's take a look at that one, Desmond. That is a different way to go for sure. Franz Wagner, first half fantasy points. He's going up against Indiana tonight. For me, I've kind of backed off of Franz Wagner, Cole Anthony, some of these guards and forwards for the Orlando Magic, because Magic are pretty much healthy right now, for the most part. Pretty much healthy right now. So it's been a little difficult to kind of gauge who's going to step up and be that scorer. But you're mentioning it, so let's look at it. Franz Wagner will do FanDuel points. And you're talking first half specifically, right? First half FanDuel points logs. So he's at 14.5. 14.5. All right. He's got 5 straight games. 5 straight games where he's gone for at least 14.5 fantasy points or more. So that's a 100% hit rate. In terms of actually going over 14.5 first half fantasy points, he's done that in 4 out of 5, an 80% hit rate. So the last 5 games have been pretty good here for Franz Wagner. So being that his fantasy score for the first half is at 14.5, let's take a look and see what his full game fantasy projection is. It's actually at 28.5. So I like to look at that and then pull up a projection for Wagner here on Fantasy Labs and see where they have him projected. They got him projected for 28.2 fantasy points against the Indiana Pacers. So pretty sharp number here for his full game. Pretty sharp number. Indiana is pretty beat up. I think maybe the way to attack Indiana might be more like with a guy like Wendell Carter Jr. or Mo Bamba, being that there's no Turner, no Sabonis. So that's just kind of my approach or my thoughts on it. But I think in terms of full game fantasy points, I know you mentioned first half, Franz Wagner at 28.5 looks like a pretty sharp number. Pretty sharp number. Tony, we talked about Seth Curry's assists. I don't know that the chat was loving it so much due to the matchup, potentially a tough matchup, but we obviously know the hit rate's very good, very, very good for Seth Curry at 4.5 assists. McNasty says, we need Jokic to get on the board so we can talk. Yeah, I know. No Joker just yet. No Joker. Somebody else is mentioning Anthony Davis's points. We don't have him up on the board just yet, but what I can do... Oh, yep, there we do. Yeah, we do. We don't have him for fantasy points, but we got him for points for whatever reason. So AD at 25.5 points. We know that Portland, over the last 15 games, hasn't been the greatest at defending the 5 spot. My man Yusuf Nurkic allowing about 26 points per game, which is the 5th most to the center position in that span. So a little bit of upside here for Anthony Davis. Had 2 really strong games back to back. For me, I don't know if I love it quite as much if LeBron is in, right? I don't remember. I think LeBron sat out against Philly, and I want to say he was out against Atlanta too, right? Chat, correct me if I'm wrong here. Need your help. But wasn't LeBron out for the last 2 games when AD dropped 31 and 27? You guys let me know. Oh, he is confirmed out. He's confirmed out for sure. Okay. If LeBron is definitely confirmed out, then yeah, I think Anthony Davis would definitely be in play. Matchup looks good. Like I said, Portland giving up a lot of points to the center spot. Let's look at the projection for AD. Got him projected for just 24.1 points, which is obviously less than 25.5. And then I'm only seeing his point prop line on one site, and it's at 26.5 instead of 25.5. So 1 point of value for us on PrizePicks, but at 26.5, he is being bet under. He is being bet under. So there you go. A little more info on Anthony Davis. Busy Time says, trust the superstars. Trust the superstars. Don't overthink it. Good little piece of advice. Aaron Rodgers is saying, LeBron ain't playing. Book it. Book it. Gerardo Torres, can you talk a little bit about how Patreon works? I've never done it. Listen, it's real simple. I mean, it's, nothing like totally crazy or life-changing or anything like that. So Patreon is just a site, a way that you can support content creators like myself. So I've set up Patreon, and basically for $20 a month, you get access to a community of like-minded people who are all in on playing prize picks, playing player props. We're all in there sharing information, doing research. We're helping each other win. I typically post a few picks. Last night I posted 4 picks, and I think all four of them ended up hitting. We had Wendell Carter Jr. over points. We had Kyle Kuzma under on assists. We had Jakob Poeltl over first half fantasy points, and we had Isaiah Stewart over 3.5 points. Shout out to David, aka Hudat. So we went 4 for 4 on our picks last night as a community, and a lot of people won a lot of money. But it's real simple. $20 a month, access to a community. We're just in there doing player prop research, all right? I don't have the cure for cancer, cure for AIDS. I don't have anything crazy going on in there, all right? But if you want to be a part of a sharp community, people who are doing sharp player prop research, sharing good information, there you go. That's what it is. Ben knows the deal. He says, Patreon was cooking yesterday. Yeah. Yes, I won with Jakob Poeltl, man. First half fantasy points. Jakob Poeltl went over his first half fantasy points. Yes, he did. I won with Poeltl. I was one of the few who actually won with Poeltl because I took him first half and not full game. So that's it, man. That's it. Just Patreon is just that, just a group of passionate ass prize picks players. We're just in there doing assists. We're just in there doing player prop research, sharing our findings, trying to help each other win. That's about as plain Jane, simple, straightforward as it gets. So, yeah, everybody, like Anthony Ruiz is saying, Patreon will pay for itself up front on the first play. We made everybody their money back on the first night yesterday. Everybody who signed up for Patreon, tailed the picks that I posted, should have won their money back on the first night. So, XX Hustle XX. We talked about Jalen Green over 3.5 rebounds already. We like that one. No problem there. Magic says he's joining Patreon tomorrow. Man, I would love to have you in there, Magic. I see you. You're always out there on Twitter tweeting at me, and, it would be cool to have you in the community for sure. When are Patreon picks posted? Well, I tried to wait for the news. Obviously, there's been a ton of like injury news, who's in, who's out. It's kind of hard to lock anything in or post anything in too early. So throughout the day, there is a channel set up inside of Discord. Listen, I'll just go ahead and pull it up for you, gang. I've got a channel inside of Discord that I've created called Curry's Kitchen. That's where I go and I do my cooking. So you could see I had Jakob Poeltl over 17.5 first half fantasy points versus Golden State. Gave some numbers, some reasons why, some screenshots, right? I had Kyle Kuzma under 3.5 assists versus Milwaukee. You get a analysis, a breakdown of why. Provided with some infographics. I had Isaiah Stewart. Shout out to David, aka Hudat, who brought this to my attention. Isaiah Stewart over 3.5 first half points versus the New Orleans Pelicans. You kind of see what I was like getting at here. Full breakdown analysis on that. I post news in here. Wendell Carter Jr. over 13.5 points versus the Chicago Bulls with, like I said, research, information, backing all my picks. Do they always hit? They don't always hit. I don't always go 4 for 4. All right. But that's where I post my research. That's where I post my picks. And then I typically just gather them all up and I'll post them out on Patreon as well, just for anybody who can't tap in and stay on top of Discord. But that's how I've been doing things lately. I post everything in the Curry's Kitchen private Patreon channel. Research, picks, the information, the data, whatever info you need, the why behind the pick. And you guys can tail, you can fade. Sometimes they don't hit, sometimes they do. So there you go. No problem, man. No problem. You are welcome. Killa Cam, you are welcome. Busy Time says Patreon is on fire. Yes. Yesterday was a great day. Winner's Circle inside of the Out of Bounds Discord. You go back and look at it. I talked about it at the start of the show, but while we're talking Patreon and all that stuff, listen, we have a Winner's Circle channel. Tony Ruiz posting winners. MF June posting winners. That Hunt Boy posting winners. McNasty, Boss Mac, Salty Pretzel with some CSGO, Shendog. I mean, these are all winning lineups from the last 24 hours. Like I said, you can get your scroll on here. This is all from the last 24 hours. That's, people were just killing it last night. Killing it. So, a lot of people won their first month of Patreon back in one night. So, Mike from the Fours, big W. Hey, this guy's been supporting. He's been an A1 day one supporter for a long time. Shout out to you, Mike. Let's take a few more prop picks and then I'll let you guys get on your way. We're reaching about the 90-minute mark, which is where I kind of like to keep things. Ethan, you're talking about some Jaylen Brown points. Ethan Holloway is mentioning some Jaylen Brown points. He's at 25.5. He's taken on Charlotte, has covered his prop in 4 straight games, dropping 30, 26, 31, and 29 against Miami. The last time he played Washington, that was an 18 point. That was the last time he went under 25.5 points. So he's going up against Charlotte tonight. Let's look at the matchup. He's the 2 guard, obviously, going up against the Hornets. Charlotte, last 7 games, given up about 23 to 24 points per game, which is, right around the top 10 most points allowed to shooting guards in that span. So he's riding a pretty nice little hot streak here. Jaylen Brown projected for 26.2 points, so they like him to go over. And he's at 25.5 and 26.5 on a number of different sites. Most of them have him up at 25.5 points, which is where he's at on PrizePicks. Now, 25.5 people are betting the under. They're betting the under on Jaylen Brown. So you could definitely dig into that a little deeper. Basically, that's kind of what I do all day long, in Discord. I dig deeper and try to find some good plays. And that's what our other community members are doing. Listen, it's not all on me. I'm just kind of the community organizer, the orchestrator. I put this community together. I've grown this community up. But now we've got some really sharp people who are a part of the community who are helping land on some good picks, like my man David. David, he's dropping super chats in here every single day. David dropped Isaiah Stewart over 3.5 points in the first half, and it ended up working, man. So it's not just me, man. Not just me. China Red 912 says she's been a Curry Patreon member for over a year and have made $95,000. $95,000. Look, she'll attest. China Red will attest. There's been ups, there's been downs, but that's the game that we play. Listen, we're not going to win every night. We're not going to get rich either. There's going to be highs and lows. So, we talked Anthony Davis points. Kyle's saying that Porzingis points over Smart assists over. Can you look at that? Sure. Yeah, we could look at a couple more and then we'll get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? Marcus Smart at 5.5 assists. You mentioned him. 4 out of his last 5 games, he has gone over 5.5 assists. 6, 7. Had just 2 against Atlanta, not a good game. 12 against New Orleans, and then 7 against Miami. So 4 out of 5, and he's averaging 6.8 dimes in the last 5 games. So I'm just going to quickly pull up a projection. We won't go too far into the weeds on this, but I've got Marcus Smart projected for 5.6 dimes. And I'm seeing him as high as 6.5 assists on some of these sports books here, but at 5.5 they're betting the at 5.5 they're betting the over. At 6.5 they're betting the under. So there's a good chance that maybe he ends up at 6. Right between 5.5 and 6.5 lies 6. Porzingis is out. Okay, so I won't waste my time on Porzingis since he is out. Yeah, MF June. Take your giddy boards to Discord. We'll talk about it more. We'll continue the conversation over in Discord. But yeah, folks, I'm going to get up out of here. It's, like I said, about the 90-minute mark. Appreciate everybody for joining me. Hopefully you've dropped likes on the stream. Hopefully I've landed on some winning picks for you tonight. And for you who are in Patreon and Discord and supporting my content, supporting the community with what I do, I am greatly appreciative and thankful. And again, I'm going to continue to pay it back to you guys in any way possible in every opportunity that I get. So we'll continue the player prop research and the conversation and the fun over in Discord. Hopefully I see you there. If I don't, that's all right. Maybe in the future, right? Until then, I will catch you later. Peace.